Um, all right, I'm Cassie Power. We're still waiting for Heather and Soraya to come. All right, did you get a chance to watch all the videos and everything?
I did. Did you?
Yeah.
Good. What did you think of them?
Um, let's see. What did I? I'm trying to keep my classes straight.
Oh,
Um,
I hear you.
okay. Okay. Wait. Panhandlers. That one. The freeloaders, right? That
Mhm.
was this class. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I was shocked.
I know. I seriously had no. I mean, I knew of it just because of some newscasts or whatever they would do stories on it, but I had no idea that most of them are actually freeloaders. I thought most of them were actually homeless and needed help, but apparently
Yeah.
not.
Okay, so you're on the East Coast, so you probably have a lot of them too. I'm in LA, so
Yeah.
there's not a day that goes by that I don't see a homeless
Yes, I
person.
know.
So part of me wants to feel really bad when I just walk past them and completely ignore them, but other times when I see videos like this, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even feel bad for you.
No, no, and especially the part where he dressed up and started putting what was it like, need money for a beer. I
Yeah,
was
I'm
like,
not
are
gonna
you
lie,
kidding
I
me?
just want a beer, and
Yes,
people were giving him money.
yes. I'm like, why would you do that? Why in the world would you do that? That's such a waste of your money. And oh my gosh, I was so upset.
Okay, good, so was I. I was like, really? And then they went on, the one lawyer. So I was gonna do. Are we in the same uh, discussion board groups as with this group?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I think so. Okay, because you did drunk driving, right?
Oh yes, I did.
Okay, so I wanted to do Native Americans just because of that thing that they threw out of like they receive the most help and they are like in the most trouble and live the shortest amount of lives. I wanted to like do a
Oh
whole
my
bunch of
gosh.
studies on that and be like, oh my gosh, how are you not seeing this correlation?
Seriously, it is ridiculous, and I can't believe how much money they spend on them. And I don't know what they do with it, but it's apparently being
They
wasted.
they do nothing. I mean,
Oh,
well, they were talking about, they don't want to improve on their lands because it's not really their land. They don't want to improve on their home because it's not their home. I mean, there's no motivation to do anything. It's just like with kids. If you don't ever give them motivation to do anything, like, have you seen the movie Failure to Launch?
I don't know if I have.
Okay, well, it's the like 35-year-old guy that's still living at home because his mom just does everything for him.
Oh,
And so
okay. I've seen snippets of it, but I haven't seen the whole thing.
there are like parts of it where I don't even remember her name, but she's like, okay, well, things that you might want to start doing are like making his life harder. So don't do all of his laundry. Give him chores to do because
Hmm.
that's how he becomes independent.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know. I was.
Oh, it's crazy. I just don't understand why people become so dependent on, like, how does that even come about? I just don't understand.
I think because they can. All right, here are the questions based on, or what that we're supposed to discuss. But they do because they can, and like the Native Americans, their parents did the same thing, and or the farming incident where it was like we're just collecting money that our parents and grandparents should have collected, and I was just like, oh my gosh, they're like, I want to work really hard and get really far. And it was like an awesome comparison with the other Native American tribe that was like,
Oh, that was so
we're
cool.
wealthy and we work hard and we have our own businesses. And the lawyer's like, they're just hard workers.
Right? I know. That was so awesome. It's like, good for them. Good for them for speaking out about it
Yeah.
because they obviously understand that their success is not going to come through the government helping them, which was great.
Yeah.
So Soraya just emailed me
Okay.
and she said that she's not with Heather this week. So I asked her what her email was,
Okay.
and she only has one, and it's through the BYU Idaho. And
Um,
I'm like, it has to be Google.
That's, yeah, a no-go.
And she says, I'm pretty sure it has worked before. I'm able to get on Google Docs through this email. Do you
Alright,
know?
I can try emailing her, I guess.
Okay, I'm going to put it in the comment box.
Okay. Maybe let's see. I wonder if I just start typing her name in. Soraya Lori. I didn't know we could, because I thought that was like one of the things at the beginning of the semester. You had to set up a Google account or a Gmail account to do Google Hangouts. Maybe not. To use this for everything anyway, but okay, then we're just waiting on Soraya and Heather, and I'm guessing they're up in Rexburg. And Stephanie, where is she?
Oh yeah.
And we haven't. I think when I sent out the email today, because we all agreed on this last week, correct? I mean, I had it written down. It was.
Yeah, we did.
I've only heard from you and Soraya and Heather. I haven't even heard from Stephanie, so I wonder if she wasn't even able to make it.
But Stephanie was here last week, right? We scheduled it with her. Okay.
Yeah, Stephanie was the one that was all gung-ho last week, and let's get this done at the beginning of the week and have lots of things to do. I was like, okay, fine. Made the rest of my week a little less stressful as I got towards the end.
Right? I know. It was great.
Alright. Heather, can you hear us, Heather? Maybe that was too soon. Heather, can you hear us?
Heather, are you there?
If you're talking, we can't hear you. We can see you, though.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you guys?
Good.
Alright, so we are kind of squished for time today, so we're talking about, did you get a chance to watch the videos and the everything?
Yeah, I did.
All the readings and everything?
Yeah.
Alright, we're still waiting for Stephanie, who I haven't heard from at all this week, and Soraya, who should be jumping on any minute. She just emailed a couple minutes ago. But what did you think of the video, was what we were just talking about, of the freeloaders?
I thought it was really interesting. I don't know. I've always kind of had a hard time, like, with, like, freeloaders, just, like, on the freeways or, you know, and they've got signs, and I feel really bad for them, but, like, that part really interested me, how they were talking about, like, if you want to help them out, donate to charities, and that's how you're going to help people that really are that way. So
yeah,
I thought that was really.
I think it was so sad that they would play off of people's feelings, like, oh, they're going to feel bad for me, so they'll give me money, instead of actually working for the money. I think that was the worst part for me, knowing that they would count on other people feeling bad. I'm like, okay, that is so morally wrong. How do you not understand that?
Openly admitted that they didn't go and want to get a job, or the people that offered him work, only one of them showed up to actually work for money. The rest of them just wanted free handouts.
Yeah. It was definitely an eye-opener.
Well, I always feel weird giving money to people anyway, but this just made it, like, solidified it, like, okay, I'm not a complete jerk of a person to, like, ignore those people when I see them on the street.
Wait, you don't give them money? Come on.
No. I don't. I'm definitely that person that probably sticks their nose up in the air and says, guess what, I work hard and I have stress wrinkles to prove it, so you can join the rest of the world.
Right? I know.
Okay, Stephanie.
Hi.
Hi.
What was the
Oh.
first question?
Oh, we haven't even started the questions. We're just going off our first impressions of the
Our anger of the whole thing.
our anger of the freeloaders. Oh my gosh! And it was just
Oh,
I felt like every group was involved except for the hardworking middle class.
right.
Everyone else gets free stuff except us. Why?
What the heck? I know. Dang it.
How are we not smart enough to figure this out?
Oh, man. Okay, well, maybe we should work on the questions then.
Yeah, let's. Has everyone turned in their journals already yet today?
No, I haven't turned in journals
Yeah,
yet.
I haven't done it either.
I feel like I'm going to be done with this class like tomorrow for this week because everything's due so early and we're just really on the ball. It kind of either makes me really excited or really nervous that I'm forgetting something.
I know.
Like,
I know, the only thing you
what?
have to worry about is the discussion board, so, but that's easy. That's fun. That's my favorite part.
All right. Okay, what could the government be doing right now in reference to all of these talks and sections that we had to read? What could the government be doing right now to help fighting your threat to children or families more effectively?
Okay, so my threat to the family, the one I focused on, was how the father is not found in families very often anymore, and how his role is being smashed, basically. So I think the biggest thing for the government to do, I mean, not that they're actually going to do it because they're doing the exact opposite, but is to stop advocating for policies and things that will hurt other people and the family. So the government and society think that it's like a personal world of individualism, that all of their choices and all of their, I don't know, acts, I guess, is not going to affect anybody else. But that is so not true, and it makes me so angry. But our actions will always affect others. So the way that they can help is to stop advocating for same-sex marriage, because that's I don't know how to explain it. That's where a lot of the children's problems will come from, is not having effective gendered parents. So I think that's the biggest thing for my threat, is taking fathers out of the home, is to stop advocating for same-sex marriage, because then you either have 2 fathers and no mother, or 2 mothers and no father. So
That is true. I did a single parent family, so it was kind of along the same lines. Did anyone else do something similar to that?
This is to the harm of the family, something that harms families.
Oh, Sarai, you can't hear any of us? I guess if she can't hear us, she wouldn't respond, huh? Oh my gosh. Oh no. It's only Tuesday. Oh. Thanks, Courtney. I'm like, what do I do?
You're fine. Mouth it. Hi. Well, she
maybe
left
she'll
the
try
group
it.
chat, so
Yeah,
maybe she'll
she'll
try
try
and
it.
sign on again.
I wrote for that paper the thing that affects the family in today's society. I wrote about pornography. So
I did the same thing.
Well, okay, so how can the government, or what can the government be doing right now to help fight that?
I don't know. I mean, it was like last week when I was reading articles about it, because we kind of did an opposing view of like why people would think that pornography is a good thing and why it gets produced and everything. And a lot of the studies that I read showed that people believe it's good because like it's a healthy thing, because it doesn't hurt. Like if they're in a relationship, it doesn't hurt the woman, and they think it's a healthy thing because of like sexual desires and things like that. And so I think like the world as a whole, like, it's just kind of sickening, like, where we've made things okay. Like, a while ago, you know, like, look at the movies now, like, there's a lot of suggestive things in PG-13 movies. And a while ago, that was, like, in the rated R movie, you know? So I think, like, I don't know, taking more importance on our values and, like, what we kind of stand for. We don't want a country full of sick people, you know? We want a good country that's going to be motivated and work towards a good thing. So I think just remembering our values and what we stand for,
I think one of the things, like, they could make laws against pornography, but that's not gonna stop anything. I mean, it might even go in the other direction where they're like, oh, this is wrong, it makes me want to do it more. And kind of backfire that way.
Well, and it's everywhere. Like, I remember in high school, we'd have to be so careful with my computers because we'd get pop-ups, you know? It's just everywhere, and you can get into it everywhere, even if you're not looking for it. But, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I actually saw a couple posts on Facebook from my friends who, it was a link. I never actually read it, but here's the link, and it talks about fighting the new drug, which is talking about pornography and what actually happens. I think they talk about the effects it has to the brain. So I haven't read it, so I'm not sure what it talks about, but I've heard from a lot of friends that it's a really good article. So if you want to look it up, I put it in the comments.
Yeah, I was just amazed when I was doing my research about how, like, many articles there were about why it's a good thing. And I was like, wait, am I missing something? Because
Yeah, I know. That's really sick, honestly. That's really gross that people would advocate for pornography. So
they also talked about how, like, sexual predators, like, they think it's a good thing for them because it helps them to not, like, commit sexual crimes, you know, like rape or whatever, but...
Or just makes them more addicted.
And I was going to say, that's like instigating it. That's terrible.
How about you just give the alcoholic a little bit of beer?
I love that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was like, people like that just want more, and they're not going to stop just because they can see it. They're going to want the real thing. Like, it's sick, but...
Yeah. There are, I mean, it's the same with, we lived in Colorado when marijuana was legalized, and it was just like this explosion, and everyone's like, it's okay. And I voted for it because I'm like, yeah, tax the crap out of that stuff. I want money for the state. But, I mean, it was just like an explosion of everyone is going to be doing it, and that should just make it legal and okay and, like, calm things down, but I don't think it ever did. I mean, we moved, but...
I like Soraya's comments about supporting religious rights and protecting them. Because I think that's a big thing. In one of my religion classes, we were talking about same-sex marriage and how, like, you know, like, I don't know how he was talking about it, but he was just saying, like, same-sex couples, like, they're like, I'm a child of God too, and I still believe in this, and God made me this way, you know, and, like, soon, like, we're gonna have to, like, I don't know how he said it, but it was like, we're gonna have to let them, like, come into, like, is it gonna go as far as letting them into the temple, you know what I mean? Like, that seems far-stretched, but he was talking about a certain way which made me, like, realize it, but I can't really explain it. I don't know how to say it, but I think her comment was really good about supporting religious rights and protecting them, because that's what we were founded upon too.
I don't know if you guys get the same feeling, and I'm sure you do after this class, but it scares me a little bit because the government is completely going away from religion. Like, everybody that has a religious view is like automatically discredited because everything they do is for God. And I'm like, okay, that is true. Everything, like the way I live my life is in line, or I try to keep it in line with Christ, but like that doesn't mean that's the only truth. Does that make sense? Like everything that is truth is through God, but they only see, I don't know how to explain it other than the fact that just because we have a religious background, all of our truths that we do have are false. And it's frustrating because like people that have a religious background, they have rights too, but they're starting to not have rights anymore in speaking out.
Yeah, I agree with you on, well, when I was reading the Declaration and the Constitution, I thought, I don't know, I expected to see something about freedom of religion in there, and there wasn't a whole lot. Like, the Constitution was just like, this is how the government is going to be run, and the strict guidelines of, like, senators and representatives and the president, they all have to be, you know, certain ages and live, you know, certain amount of years, and I thought, like, oh, that would be helpful for families if, like, the government came out with, like, a proclamation to the family of, like, children must be born by two parents, and, like, that's, the government has to do a complete 180 to be like, if you're going to have children, you better be married, and you better be in love, and if you don't want to have children, you better use protection, and there's no excuses, and it's a crime if you have a child outside of wedlock, basically. Like, we're going, I wish it would go that way, but it's
I know.
like communism, I don't know, a little controlling of people, which no one in this country wants. So, I don't know, that's how I applied it to my topic. I'm like, we just need a really strict rule book for families, and if you don't follow the rules, you get in trouble. So if you don't give your kids enough to eat for dinner, you're going to get in trouble for it. That doesn't happen.
No, it does not. Okay. Should we go on to the next question?
Yeah.
Okay, so it says, does it seem that the government is effective in advocating for needy causes? Why or why not?
I think they're too effective for the needy causes and not for the actual needs. Like, I saw something on Facebook yesterday, the day before, that was like student debt forgiveness. And I was like, oh my gosh, I could really get behind that, because my husband has student loans that we're going to be paying off for years. Mm-hmm. Why can't I get some of that? But I'm not crafty enough to work the government to be like, yeah, I should pay off all of these debts so that I could one day maybe buy a house or something.
Right, can't find all the loopholes.
And invest in the country again, you know, instead of making me pay for the rest of my life.
I agree.
Yeah, so the way that I saw that they advocated for the needy causes is that they would just hand out money. So we talked about this with the Native Americans, but I think it's similar with the issue of, like, when drunk driving came about. They kind of slapped them with a fine after fine until they realized that the drunk drivers wouldn't change without a change of mind. And then they started offering these enrollment programs and courses that it took to make the difference. And I think that's kind of that same process should be applied to any needy person or cause, because they're not going to change just because they have money. They need to change their mindset. If they're always feeling like other people owe them something, then they're always going to feel like that.
Yeah, they're never going to get out of the rut that they're in. Mm-hmm. All right, so Soraya, I think it's talking about the third question over here, saying that it's deviating. A lot of the phrases in the Constitution are often twisted. I can see that for sure, that it's hard to, well, even reading it today, I was like, I have to read this through a couple times and, like, out loud to get the basic gist of what they're trying to say. And I don't know. That's kind of what I thought.
Yeah, it's worded differently than what we're used to reading, and so it is hard for me to understand what they're trying to say. Um, but I think a lot of the times you can see what they're saying now because since it's not understood very well, if people don't understand what they're saying, then the government can pretty much get around anything. So. What do you think, Stephanie?
I was just reading Soraya's response. Sorry, just a second.
Oh, you're okay.
Heather, can you hear us? We haven't heard from you in a while. Are you still there? Heather? Oh.
Oh goodness, we keep
No, we can't hear you, Heather. No wonder. Have you been talking a lot and making comments? Oh, it does say that your mic is muted.
So go up to the top, and it has a microphone, and then it has a camera. Try clicking on the microphone. Are you able to log off and get back on?
Well, at least she can hear us.
Yeah,
I
that's
know.
Then
a step up.
I feel so bad.
I like Soraya's comments though about the phrases in the Constitution being twisted because I feel like that's huge, you know? Like with same-sex couples, it's like, well, everybody should be equal, you know, but then it's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, you're infringing on other things in the Constitution as well. Yeah, that may apply to you, but I don't know. I thought that was a really good comment. How they understand what the documents are about less and less. That's kind of what I was saying, like remembering like what we were founded upon and what in the Constitution, what we believe and what we want for like America and stuff. Like I feel like people like skew that up and they don't understand, or they don't understand what's in it. So
I think the reason that they were, I don't know if necessarily vague is the right word, but I'll use it. They were vague in writing the Constitution is because they didn't know where this was going, and the Declaration of Independence, like the whole context that they were written in was like, okay, we're going against our country right now. Like, let's not get into a whole lot of detail of marriage between a man and a woman, but let's just declare our independence from this country, and then we'll set up the country how we want it to be. It wasn't, I don't know, it was more on a national level than a family or community level, and that I think is one of the reasons why it's so vague, because they didn't even know how far it was going to get. And then once it did get really far and the years down the road, like it's way harder to ratify and change because there's so many people involved in the process.
yeah.
Yeah, I really like that actually because some of the wording in the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, it talks about God. So I can't even imagine what they're thinking now. Like they would have never saw this coming. You know, and if they did, they probably would have put something in there to protect the family, but I mean, there's only so much you can do.
I mean, yeah, back in 1776, it was like, you defended your wives, you defended your children. I mean, this is what they were there for, because they wanted a better life for their family. It's not because they wanted a better life for themselves, but they saw that they weren't being treated fairly by the country that they were a part of. And so I think family was the major motivation, but they don't ever outright say it because I don't know, it was just like a given. Of course we're doing this for our family. We're not doing it so we can get rich and wealthy over here.
Exactly. And I mean, since they were married, if their wives ever would have been like, no, I don't want kids because I want to work, they'd be like, what are you talking about? Like, you can't work. You don't have the rights.
Get back in the kitchen.
I know.
Oh, Heather, I like that.
I like that too.
Yeah, that's a great insight.
Government wasn't meant to be powerful. It was meant to make us independent. All right. Well, should we go to the last Elder Christofferson question? Elder Christofferson is speaking about the root of the problem in many of your topics. How then can you use this council to aid you in your approach to advocating your cause at the government and community levels? I feel like we kind of talked about this already because we kind of already talked about. Well, maybe I did. Maybe I skipped ahead because I wanted to talk about this.
I think
make laws, make a government family proclamation. Duh.
What were you going to say, Stephanie?
I said I think we did talk about it. I don't know. I feel like little pieces of comments were in each of our.
About. Yeah, I just think that the government needs to butt out. They're making too much chaos, too many problems. But yes, I do agree. If the world was perfect, we would have a family proclamation through the government, and it would all be great. And eventually, we'll get there, right? When the government is no longer.
Yeah. Well, and what was it in this class? I think it was in this class last week we were talking about how the people that are all for the families are with their families, while everyone that's anti-family is working towards the anti-family. So they all have the time to do it because they don't care about families, whereas everyone that does doesn't have time. It's like the conundrum that we're in. Like, I really want to change the government, but I want to make sure that my family life is still good. Yeah, still there, to fight for.
I like Heather's last response because that video we watched like 2 weeks ago, maybe it was last week, I can't even remember, I'm all messed up, but she was talking about how, she went into Costa Vida and there was that inappropriate picture and she wrote a letter and then they had no idea, so they took it down. I think it's really important that we stand up for what we believe, and we're not rude about it, but we still stand up for what we believe and work to improve things like this, so just showing others what we believe by being the example for it, and also like just always standing for it. And I don't know.
Chances are that if you're offended by something, there's going to be at least a couple other people that are offended by it, and you might get the reaction from the people that weren't. They're just like, why are you freaking out about that? Like, it's not a big deal. But if you were offended by it, like she was able to make a difference, and I'm sure there were other people that were grateful for that, and they hadn't wanted to stand up because they were probably like, oh, I'm on my own. The government, I think, does a really good job of making families feel like they can't bond together.
Yeah. Well, and I like how she also said that, like, because I think, I probably wouldn't have written the letter because I would have just been like, oh, they won't change it anyways, it wouldn't matter. But I think remembering that even one person can make that difference, like, even with, like, same-sex things, like, we can, I don't know, we can just work to be examples and work to everything be missionaries.
Yeah, and if we don't speak out, they're not going to know that people have an opinion,
Yeah.
an opposite opinion about it. Like, if all these people are for gay marriage and nobody ever spoke out about, no, that's not okay, then everything would have just gone through without a problem. But since there's been some resistance, I mean, it's definitely made a difference, and I love that people are able to get their voices out there, because if we don't, nobody would know that people are against it or any other problem. So it's our job to make sure that we stand up for what we believe. Otherwise, nobody else will understand there's a problem.
Yeah.
Oh, this is
Anyway.
totally off topic. Maybe we could do this this summer. My all-time favorite part of the freeloaders video was like, the Mormons didn't have any handouts given to them, and look at them, they're all rich. I was like, perfect example. Like, we got kicked out. I mean, not trying to compare us to the Native Americans or anything on that level, but I mean, it was kind of the same situation of like, get out of our country or we're gonna kill you. And I mean, we've become a successful worldwide church. I mean, I don't know, maybe that's because we have like the spirit on our side and like motivation. But like, when he said that, and the lawyer was just like, I don't know.
I know. I was like, bam,
know.
that's what I thought.
I know. I was like, oh yeah, what now, huh? I mean, I'm not rich.
It was hilarious. That was great.
Mormon church, yeah, go us. That kind of made me a little more lenient on how. I just hope other people watching it were realizing like, oh, I don't know how many people outside of classrooms watch these things, but I hope that other people were making the connection of like, oh yeah, getting free stuff actually makes you more dependent, and that's probably not good.
Sorry, I hate to be a party pooper, but I do have to go.
No, it's all right. I do too. Any other thoughts that we have? I think we could just post on the discussion board. I'll go ahead and post the link to our.
Have a group meeting next week too?
Let me check. I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
So same time and stuff, or?
Same time would be great.
It works for me if it works for everyone else.
It works for me.
Heather, does it work for you? Okay, perfect. Well, we'll just go ahead. I'll email Soraya and have her set up a Google account.
Yeah, that might be better. And we'll see you all next week.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah.
All right, bye.